From the outside, obviously, you look at Africa, you read the news, and you think it's going to be very difficult, right? And everything's going to be very difficult. We started a business in Lagos, and on the first day, we had consumers buying mobile phones. And I was so surprised. On the very first day, we opened the website, nobody knows us, and we get 10 consumers buying a mobile phone, right? And we were very surprised by the appetite of consumers for products which are sometimes expensive. We were very surprised that we, could find a way to make the delivery happen. And actually, a lot of, more positive things were happening than negative. I'm very bullish about e-commerce in Africa because what is very unique in this continent is you have this very big population, over 1 billion people, and they are very connected. There are more than 400 million internet users in Africa, which is the second largest internet user population on the planet, just after China. And yet, there is a very difficult distribution for the goods and the services. And it's notorious that in Africa, for consumers, it's more difficult to find goods and it's more difficult to shop. And because of the mobile and because of internet, consumers now have a way to access goods and services in a more efficient way. Consumers in Africa want the same thing as everywhere else. They want good products at the good price, good quality. It's the same thing. I speak to a lot of business partners who are thinking about Africa and how different it is. There's something which is the same everywhere. And for us, consumers want to save time and save money. In terms of consumer segments, what is surprising is we have a lot of consumers who are not necessarily in the big urban areas. And from an outsider, one could think, okay, e-commerce is for the inhabitants of Lagos and Cairo and Nairobi. We have a lot of consumers who are living in the small villages and in the small cities. Why? Because they see on Jumia a lot of choice, and they don't really have that choice in the area where they live. And for them, it's very difficult to have access to the goods. One of the barriers, obviously, of e-commerce is the logistics, because we have to move the products from the merchants who is selling the products to the consumer who is ordering the product. And logistic is obviously a big challenge for whoever knows Africa. In Africa, there's no addressing system in most of the cities. So if for someone to find a consumer, you need to have a local partner who is able to know where is the consumer based on very subjective information. And for example, if you say in a city in Africa, I live in the 3rd street by the church with the blue door, that's the address, right? You and I, we would not find this consumer. But if you partner with the right local player who have the right local knowledge, then they can, of course, find those consumers because they understand that. Now, the challenge, of course, is that to have a lot of fragmented logistic players is a risk unless you have what we created, which is a very good set of standard technology tools and processes, which we give to the local players so that they can operate their last mile cash on delivery, door-to-door delivery business according to the international standards. I very much believe e-commerce provides a much safer and cheaper way for small businesses to grow because the investment required is smaller, and yet you are able to reach so many consumers. For example, one of our largest seller in Tunisia is a person who started from scratch, and he was designing t-shirts, and then he started to sell them online, and then he was selling more t-shirts, and then he hired one person to help him with the production of the t-shirts, and now he has 20 employees, and he is selling maybe 80% of his merchandise online, and now we opened a store, right? So actually this is one of the many examples that we see where someone can start from zero and grow, start small, invest, and from there you grow, and then actually you go from online to offline instead of doing the same thing as in Europe or the US where the merchants go offline to online.